Appreciate you lovely people for clicking on this video. We got our first look to the Terminator anime series coming to Netflix entitled Terminator Zero. I really wanted to talk about this thing. I didn't have enough time to talk about it on the main channel, so I thought I'd just dive into it here. First of all, when I first heard that they were making an anime for Terminator, I flinched. I was like, is that really the route we want to go? Because, like, think about, like, the average Terminator fan or, like, the old school, Terminator person enjoyer. I don't think that they're also turning on My Hero Academia, Death Note, and whatnot. I wouldn't say that rolls that way, but I was like, you know what? We have not had a great Terminator thing in a long time. Like, let's start off even just talking about the movies themselves. I think obviously we agree. The first two movies, instant classic, perfection, at least in my opinion. I actually really like the third movie. I don't know how some people feel. I feel like I'm fine pairing up the three together and going, yep, I love these. These are the Terminator movies I love, the first three. Then everybody has a wildly different opinion once we go to Salvation, Genesis, and even Dark Fate. My favorite of these three has to be between Dark Fate and Salvation. At times, I like what Salvation was attempting, finally getting into, the Judgment Day War and all that kind of stuff. But Dark Fate had its moments. Genesis, don't even really want to talk too much about it. It also had its moments. But whatever the case, there's been a clear struggle to bring back Terminator into the mainstream, and it's just never succeeded. Now, I don't think Terminator Zero is going to do that, but at least it's going to fill in a void I've been wanting to see with the Terminator franchise ever since I was a wee lad, okay? So, getting into some of these details before I talk about what filling in that void is going to be, look at this animation, my guy. This looks freaking beautiful here. They got some other photos. You freaking naked ass Terminator. That's what I love to see. Them perfectly muscular cheeks and them pecs and all them muscles. That's the kind of Terminator I want knocking at my door. If you was going to put a bullet in my head, I'd like it to be perfect bodied Arnold Schwarzenegger there. That's pretty cool. Okay, so some of the details, because I read this whole article, so I'm not just going to be reading little bits and all that for you. First thing you got to know about Terminator Zero is it's set in 1997. So it takes place after the events of the second movie, kind of even in between, not in between, yeah, I guess in between the third film. And it's right when Judgment Day is on the edge, is about to happen. And it's also taking place in Tokyo. The show is going to be following a scientist and his family. And the reason the scientist is important is because he's trying to create a competing AI to Skynet. So that's how they kind of add in the time travel story. So it looks like this Japanese scientist is on the verge of completing whatever this new AI is that might overtake Skynet. I mean, it's threatening Skynet enough where they're like, oh, we need to send a Terminator back in the past to kill this guy, because if that AI comes to life, it's over for us in our T-800 way. So I actually love that idea. I think that's cool. We get away from the John Connor stuff. I love John Connor, Sarah Connor, all that, but it's like, these movies right here, they have done the John Connor or the Connor story to death, where they've run it to the ground, and it's like, let's do something new. At one point I thought John Connor was like the only person that could be the antagonist for the Terminators, or I guess protagonist, but it's like, it's over, okay? It's just not going to happen. So I think this is a cool idea. So it's going to be that. And they also said they are hoping, if this season goes well, that they're going to go ahead and do multiple seasons where we see the rest of this scientist family grow. So we're going to be following like his couple of sons and whatnot. So it could be a spiraling story that could span multiple seasons, but that's the first season right here. Terminator sent to Japan. The other interesting thing to note about this setting, oh look here, we got the Judgment Day bomb, looks like it's going off. The other interesting thing to note about this, and that they made a point, is because it's set in Japan, there's not going to be a lot of guns in the show, which I thought was interesting, because in the article, the writer of this, Matt Tolman, who was a writer on the Batman and the Batman Part 2, which is what's giving me a lot of hope, because I love the Batman, and hopefully the Batman Part 2 is great, but he was one of the writers on there. And in this article, it's mainly him detailing his idea. And he had like written a scene where he's like, okay, I'm in Tokyo, Japan and all this, and they're going to be a scene where they go out and fight each other and they're going to start pulling guns. And then somebody had to come back and fact check them and go, there's no guns in Japan. That's like one of the no firearm places. So if you get a gun, don't know where we're going to pull it from. And that's where he felt like it gave him the opportunity to do a lot cooler stuff, because he says it here in this article. Let me see if I can go down. And this is the part that makes me so excited. He says, the inspiration comes through further in the tone of the series. Unlike later installments that have what Tolsman describes as a muscular sci-fi action, he embraced the horror elements of director James Cameron's movie. He said here, there's a completely valid version of the Terminator franchise where the Terminator is synonymous with Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, where he is the unrelenting serial killer. He explains, there's a little bit of Friday the 13th in here. There's a little bit of Michael Myers in here. Just no guns. I was covering that up. Just no guns. Dude, I have never felt more validated in my life. There is an argument, that kind of has been going on a lot with the Terminator franchise. That first Terminator movie is a horror movie. Yes, there's sci-fi elements in there. Yes, there's a little bit of action. But at the end of the day, the first Terminator is no different than the first Halloween movie, the first or the second Friday the 13th, a Nightmare on Elm Street, any slasher movie. It has that identical formula. You have a killer who disguises himself in a mask, is just an unrelenting beast after you. Those last 10 minutes of the first Terminator, so beautifully done and scary. The T-800 is one of the most badass killing machines as a slasher. So I've always seen the first Terminator as a horror film. And then obviously when Terminator 2 came, that all out the window. It became a straight up action franchise. And ever since then, because a lot of people argue Terminator 2 is the best, and I would kind of agree, but because they went with the action sci-fi approach, every movie from there wanted to be Terminator 2, wanted to keep that action sci-fi route. And so you slowly lost what kind of made that first movie so cool, is the horror elements. There's some blood, there's killing, there's a lot of scary things with that Terminator. To know that they're bringing that back now with this show, oh, dude, that's what's going to make it awesome. Because, again, look at this first image of the Terminator and tell me you don't get them horror vibes. Tell me that's not scary right there. I feel like that's awesome. We got some other couple of images here. So this is the part where I was like, pretty interesting that in the article they literally say no guns. There's going to be minimal guns in this show. And one of the first images they decide to release is a character holding a gun right up to the camera. So, like, okay, we'll see how that goes. But maybe this could be, a flash forward into the future. This could be during, the big old war or whatnot. Maybe there's a little bit of guns in there. But he made it a point that that the Terminator is not going to be doing a lot of killing with guns. He's going to be using swords even. Like he said, there's going to be moments where this T-800 has a built-in sword. And I was like, whoa, not like liquid metal like the T-1000. No, like it's literally a built-in sword, Baraka style from like Mortal Kombat. I was like, dude, that sounds cool. Now, I do want to get into the things that have me worried about this show, and it's these two photos. It's this one and this photo. I don't know about you. This is giving me supernatural elements. This is giving me person talking to a giant ghost entity type of thing. Okay, what is this about? Okay, I really like the kind of grounded, serious approach of the Terminator franchise where it's just a machine. It's AI. It's futuristic, and at one point maybe it seemed unrealistic, but oh my God, is AI more real than ever in our today modern age? And even James Cameron, who has gotten the rights back to Terminator, and he said he's working on a new Terminator movie, just writing it, not officially directing or even making the movie yet, but he's writing a new Terminator movie, and his focus is the AI element of it because that's what's become most relevant in our today and age. But this, I'm like, okay, is this the competing AI that they're talking about from the plot? Because remember, it's this Japanese man who creates an AI that's going to compete with Skynet. Is this like his Jarvis that he's talking to through a hologram? If so, I really hope that's the route, because if not, what is this, a ghost? What is this, like spiritual manifestation? I'm open to it, man, but once we start including supernatural and magical elements, you lost me. That's where I was like, okay, that's not the Terminator franchise I want to see. But, this then, looking at this photo, is where I go, okay, I want this. I want to see how this goes. Just light Yagami. It's definitely not what's happening, but something like this though, where you're entrusting somebody, you think everything's good, then this person chasing you hit them, and then they start revealing they're freaking half Terminator. Oh, I'm so excited for the way this thing's gonna go down. So, Terminator Zero, we'll see how it pans out. I'm just most interested because they're bringing back the horror elements into this, and that's what I feel they should do with a new Terminator movie, okay? That you shouldn't try to recreate T2. Like, that's just one of those magic in a bottle movies that was way better than the first movie, did something so iconic. Go back to the formula of the first film. Small scale, just a relentless killing machine. Add those horror vibes. Don't, like, you killed it with Dark Fate. Although I like Dark Fate, there's no way you could have 3 Terminator movies that essentially flopped because they never had full-on continuations, and then you go into Dark Fate and you give it $120-130 million. What was the budget of Dark Fate, dude? Because it's like the Terminator franchise was already struck, dude. You gave it a budget of 185 to 196 million. To put that into perspective for you, the new Planet of the Apes movie currently in theaters has a budget of like 160. Dude, I love the Terminator franchise, and I want it, and I want to think it's as big and glorious as I remember it. You need to go back to like a $90 million, like honestly, even 70, and make something similar to that first. Like the way Prey did. It went back to basics. The alien Romulus is kind of going back to basics. It's time for Terminator to go back to basics. But right now, I'm excited for this anime, and I hope it turns out good. What do you guys think about it?